The battlefield was quiet now. Too quiet. Ash floated in the air like snow, drifting slowly over shattered metal and broken bodies. Fires burned in the distance, but no one came to put them out. The war was over, or at least it was over for Virelia. She lay half-buried beneath fallen stones, her body covered in blood and dust. Her insect-like wings were torn, one of her arms broken, her breathing shallow. She could barely move. All around her, her people, fighters of the proud Talkai, were dead. Their last stand had failed. The Dominion had come with their warships, their machines, their merciless fire. And no one had stood a chance. Virelia was a medic, not a soldier. She had tried to help the wounded, even as the sky cracked open with explosions. She remembered pulling a young warrior behind cover just before the blast hit. He had died anyway. Now she was alone. Flies buzzed above her head, landing on her open wounds. She didn't have the strength to swat them away. She could feel them crawling, feeding. Her vision blurred. Her long black eyes blinked slowly. So this is it, she thought. This is how it ends. Forgotten. Useless. Alone. Virelia closed her eyes. She was tired. So very tired. She waited for the cold to come. For her heart to stop. For everything to fade. But then, a sound. Soft but clear. Footsteps. Not the heavy stomps of Dominion soldiers. Not the crackling walk of their machines. Something different. She opened one eye. A shadow stood over her. Tall. Humanoid. Armored in dark gray metal, the figure looked like something out of a story. It bent down. Its helmet hissed as it released air, and slowly the visor lifted. Virelia froze. It wasn't a Varn. It wasn't a Thalkai. It wasn't any species she knew. It was human. She had heard of humans before. Wild tales passed from trader to trader. A species from a distant, blue planet. Known for their madness, their bravery, their unpredictability. Some said they were monsters. Others called them heroes. She never thought she'd see one. The human looked at her with soft eyes. Brown and tired, but kind. He said something in his own language first, then tapped a small device on his wrist. It translated. "You're not dead," the voice said. "Not yet." She stared at him, too weak to speak. He knelt beside her and opened a small pouch on his belt. Pulling out a tiny tool, he gently scanned her body. The scanner beeped and blinked with red lights. "You're lucky," he said. Sort of. She gave a weak, bitter smile. "Doesn't feel like luck." The translator caught her words and spoke them back to him. He chuckled softly. "I've felt worse," he said. "Come on. Let's get you out of here." With surprising care, the human lifted her from the rubble. She cried out as pain shot through her side, but he whispered something calming. "I know. Just hold on." He moved quickly, carrying her across the broken field, ducking behind walls, avoiding drones flying overhead. He didn't speak again until they reached an old bunker, half buried but still standing. Inside, it was dark and cool. He laid her down on a piece of cloth and got to work. He used strange tools, human technology she didn't recognize, cleaned her wounds, sealed cuts with foam, wrapped her arm in a tight band. She watched him work. His hands were fast, steady. Not rushed, but not wasting a second either. "Why?" she whispered. He glanced up. "Why are you helping me?" He paused for a moment before answering. "Because you're alive. And that's enough." She didn't know what to say. Most species wouldn't stop for a fallen enemy. Most wouldn't risk their life for a stranger. But this human, he had. Without question. Without hesitation. "What's your name?" she asked. "Reynard," he said. "You?" "Virelia." He gave a small nod. "Well, Virelia," he said, checking a scanner. "You're stable for now. But this area won't stay quiet for long." She frowned. "There's no one left. We lost." Reynard's eyes narrowed. "Then maybe it's time someone started fighting back." She looked at him. His armor was scratched. His gear was patched together. He looked like he had been through 100 battles. Maybe he had, and yet, he was still here, still fighting. For a moment, she wondered what kind of world raised humans like him. Outside, the wind howled over the ruins. Inside the bunker, Virelia drifted into a light sleep, her body still aching, but no longer afraid. She wasn't alone anymore. The human sat at the entrance, weapon in hand, eyes watching the horizon. And as the fires burned on, one truth settled deep in Virelia's heart. Death had come for her that day, but humanity came instead. The sound of rain hitting the bunker roof woke Virelia. The water dripped slowly through cracks above, landing on the dusty floor. Her wounds still ached, but they were healing. Her broken arm was wrapped tightly, and the pain in her side had lessened. She blinked and looked around. The bunker was dimly lit by a small lamp. In the corner, Reynard sat cleaning his weapon. His armor was off, revealing a gray undersuit covered in patches and burns. He looked tired but not weak. His eyes were focused, alert, and sharp. When he noticed her awake, he nodded. "You're healing faster than I expected." Virelia sat, up slowly, her wings twitching slightly behind her. "That's thanks to you." Reynard shrugged like it was nothing. He stood and walked to a small metal box. From it, he pulled a packet of rations. He opened it and offered her half. She looked at it, confused. "Is this food?" He smiled. "It's not tasty, but it keeps you alive." Virelia took it and tried a small bite. It was dry and a bit sour, but not terrible. Her stomach welcomed it. As they ate in silence, she watched him. She had so many questions. Finally, she asked, "Are you really human?" He looked at her with a half smile. "That's what my mother told me." She tilted her head. "I thought, your people stayed in the inner sectors. The stories say humans don't get involved in other wars." Reynard looked away. "Most don't. But I'm not most." "Why are you here then?" He didn't answer at first. He stood up and walked to a small table made from broken parts. On it was a map of the area, burned and torn at the edges. He placed a metal marker on the edge of the map. "I came with a team," he said quietly. "Special unit. We were sent to sabotage Dominion weapon systems behind enemy lines, but they found us first." Virelia understood. She had seen many teams like his, brave but outnumbered. "How? Many of you are left?" she asked softly. He looked at her. His eyes were tired. "Just me." A heavy silence filled the bunker. Virelia felt a sting in her chest, not from pain but from empathy. She had lost her people too. "I'm sorry," she said. He gave a small nod. "War doesn't care who's ready." For a while, neither of them spoke. The rain outside grew, heavier, turning the ash-covered ground into muddy puddles. Then Reynard picked up a strange tool and began adjusting a small device that looked like a mix of alien and human tech. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Trying to fix this communicator. If I can boost the signal, maybe I can reach any human patrol ships passing nearby." Virelia leaned closer, watching him work. "I've never seen someone mix two different tech systems like that." Reynard smiled. "Humans are good at making things work, even if they're not meant to." She nodded slowly. "That's what the stories say too, that your kind never gives up." He chuckled. "Some stories are true." Suddenly, a soft beep came from a sensor near the door. Reynard stood quickly and checked the screen. "Drone sweep," he muttered. "2 Dominion scouts." Virelia tensed. "They'll scan this bunker." "Not if we stop them first," he said, grabbing his weapon. She tried to stand, but her legs were still too weak. "I can help." Reynard shook his head. "You've done enough. Rest." Before she could argue, he was gone, silent like a shadow. She crawled to the entrance and peeked outside. Rain poured from the sky, covering everything in mist. Through the haze, she saw Reynard move through the ruins like a ghost. He ducked behind cover, aimed carefully, and fired a silent shot. One drone sparked and fell. The second drone spun and fired back, its red eye glowing in the rain. Reynard rolled aside, tossed something small, and a flash of light blinded the drone. A moment later, it too was destroyed. She watched in awe. He wasn't just surviving. He was fighting back, alone, against an empire that had crushed her entire world. When he returned to the bunker, soaked and breathing hard, she looked at him with new respect. "You don't fight like a soldier," she said. He raised an eyebrow. "No, you fight like someone who has nothing left to lose." He didn't answer, just sat down and began drying his weapon. Later that night, as they sat near a small heater, she asked, "Do you think your message will reach someone?" Reynard stared into the heat glow. "I don't know. Maybe. Maybe not. Then why try?" He looked at her, and for the first time she saw something behind his eyes. Fire. Not anger. Not revenge. Just will. "Because I can. Because if I stop trying, then the enemy wins." Virelia nodded slowly. She had almost given up before he found her. She had thought strength was in numbers, in weapons, in plans. But maybe real strength was simpler. Maybe it was choosing to try again and again, no matter the odds. That night, she didn't feel quite so broken. She asked him, "Will you teach me?" He looked at her. "Teach you what?" "How to fight. How to survive like you." Reynard smiled. "All right, Virelia. Lesson 1. Never waste a working weapon. And never trust dry rations." She laughed. A dry, weak sound, but a laugh nonetheless. In that moment, as rain tapped on the bunker roof and the fire hummed between them, Virelia realized something. The human wasn't just a soldier. He was a spark. And in a world covered in ash, a single spark could still bring fire. The days passed slowly, but change had already begun. Virelia no longer lay helpless in the corner of the bunker. Her strength was returning, and so was her spirit. Every morning, she joined Reynard outside, training in the broken remains of the city. The sky was still gray, the air still smelled of fire. But now she had purpose. Reynard taught her how to move quietly, how to use cover, how to stay invisible in plain sight. She learned to listen, not just with her ears but with her instincts. "The Dominion controls the skies," he told her, "but we control the shadows." He taught her how to handle a pulse rifle, how to disarm traps, how to build basic tools from scrap. She was fast, clever, and hungry to learn. Sometimes she failed. She stumbled, dropped her weapon, or set off sensors by accident. But Reynard never got angry. He simply reset the task and said, "Try again." That simple phrase stayed with her. On the fourth day, they found a small ruined transport hidden under debris. Reynard examined the wreck. The engine was gone, but inside were crates of supplies, med kits, water packs, and a field drone with a cracked lens. Virelia picked up the drone and turned it over in her hands. "Can we fix it?" Reynard smiled. "With enough tape and hope? Sure." Back in the bunker, they worked side by side. Virelia used her knowledge as a medic to repair the power cell while Reynard rewired the circuits. The drone blinked, then hovered slowly in the air, making a soft hum. She laughed in surprise. "It works." Reynard nodded. "One more eye to watch our backs." That night, as they shared a small meal, she asked him, "Do all humans fight like you?" He looked up. "No, most don't. Most never see war. I was trained for it. Chose it." "Why?" He was quiet for a moment. "Because someone once saved me. Long ago. And I told myself, one day I'd be that person for someone else." Virelia looked at him. "And now you are." The next morning, the drone detected movement nearby. Virelia and Reynard watched from the roof of a broken tower. Below, a group of Varn soldiers marched with prisoners, injured Thalkai and other alien civilians. The Dominion was moving them west, likely to a labor camp. Virelia clenched her fists. "We have to help them." Reynard narrowed his eyes. There are 10 guards, maybe more. That's a lot for just 2 of us. We can't just let them go. He looked at her. Then slowly he smiled. Didn't say we wouldn't. I said it's a lot, not impossible. They made a plan. Quick, risky, but bold. That night, under cover of darkness, they set traps using stolen Dominion mines. The drone followed the convoy from above, mapping the path. Renard climbed a ridge with his rifle. Virelia hid behind rocks with a stolen Dominion blaster. When the time came, the traps went off. Explosions scattered the guards. Confused, they ran in different directions. Renard picked off 2 from the ridge. Virelia moved in fast, stunning another before he could fire. The prisoners, once frozen in fear, began to fight back with stolen weapons. In less than 5 minutes, the area was clear. The survivors looked at Reynard and Virelia in disbelief. A tall Thalkai elder stepped forward. "You're one of us," he said to Virelia. "But who is he?" She turned to Reynard and said with pride, "He's human." Murmurs spread through the group. One young warrior spoke up. "I thought humans were only myths." Reynard chuckled. "Not a myth, just stubborn." They led the group back to the bunker. It was crowded but safe. Virelia gave medical care to the wounded while Reynard stood guard, always alert. That night a fire was lit outside, small but warm. People gathered around, sharing stories. Some cried. Others laughed for the first time in days. Virelia sat beside Reynard. "You changed them," she said. "No," he replied. "We did." The next morning, one of the rescued prisoners, a skilled engineer named Karen, began repairing a long-range transmitter using parts from the crashed transport. Reynard helped him, and together they boosted the signal to reach further into space. "If this works," Karen said, "someone will hear us." "Let's hope it's the right someone," Reynard replied. While they worked, Virelia trained the others. She taught them what Reynard had taught her, how to move, how to fight, how to survive. The group grew stronger, more confident. Hope spread. Whispers of their rescue reached nearby ruins. More survivors appeared, hungry, tired, afraid. But when they saw the human, standing tall among the ashes, they stood straighter. A legend was growing. "There's a human in the wasteland," they said, "and wherever he walks, the fire returns." That evening, as the sun set behind the ruined horizon, Reynard looked out from the bunker's roof. Virelia joined him. "What are you thinking?" He didn't answer at first. Then he said, "I think this world still has a chance, and that scares the Dominion." She nodded. "They thought they ended us, but we're still here." He turned to her. "And you've changed. You're not just surviving, you're leading." She looked away. "I never wanted to be a leader." "Neither did I," he said with a grin. "But here we are." The wind blew gently, carrying the smell of ash and earth. But it also carried something else now, hope. Together, they stood at the edge of the rooftop, watching as small groups trained in the courtyard below. A few fires burned, not from war but from warmth, from unity. In just a few days, everything had changed. Not because they had more weapons, not because they had more soldiers, but because one human refused to walk away, and because one Thalkai chose to rise again. The sun was low in the sky, casting long shadows over the ruins. The air was heavy with silence, broken only by the quiet steps of those preparing for the night. The small group of survivors had grown in number. Men, women, and creatures from many worlds had come together, united by a common hope: freedom. Inside the bunker, Virelia and Reynard worked side by side once again. The long-range transmitter was almost ready. Karen, the engineer, was connecting the last wires with steady hands. Sparks flew from his tools as he worked under the flickering light. Reynard checked the weapon rack nearby. Their supplies were low but steady. He looked over at Virelia, who was tending to the wounded, carefully wrapping fresh bandages. "Any changes outside?" he asked quietly. She shook her head. "Still quiet." Too quiet. He frowned. Quiet could mean many things. It could mean the Dominion was planning, waiting for the right moment to strike. Suddenly, the drone buzzed through the broken window, landing on a table. Its cracked lens flickered with a warning light. Reynard picked it up and checked the data. Movement. Large group approaching. Virelia's eyes widened. Dominion? More than that, Reynard said grimly. Elites. Special forces. The bunker fell silent. Everyone felt the weight of the news. We need to finish the transmission now, Karen said, his voice steady despite the tension. Reynard nodded. Virelia, get the others ready. We fight if we must. She gathered the survivors quickly, sharing the plan. The bunker was small, but defensible. They would hold the position until help arrived or until the last breath. As night fell, they set traps and prepared weapons. Virelia checked each person's gear, making sure they understood the stakes. Reynard positioned himself at the entrance, scanning the darkness. Stay calm, he said. We've come too far to lose now. The transmitter hummed softly as Karen powered it up. The small screen blinked green. Reynard keyed the microphone. This is Reynard, human operative, calling for immediate assistance. Sector 9G compromised. Dominion forces attacking. We hold position. Request backup. The message repeated, sending signals through the stars. Hours passed. The group listened for any sign of rescue. Suddenly, the earth trembled. Heavy footsteps approached. Varn elites appeared in the distance, their armor shining in the moonlight. Their weapons glowed red, ready for battle. Reynard raised his rifle. Hold your ground. The first wave crashed against their defenses. Explosions shook the bunker as traps went off. Virelia fought beside Reynard, her movements swift and precise. She dodged blasts, fired back, and helped others stay safe. Despite the odds, their small force held firm. Reynard saw Virelia take a hit in the side. Blood stained her armor, but she didn't stop. He shouted to her, "Fall back, let me cover you." "No," she said, voice strong. "We fight together." Reynard was stunned by her courage. She was no longer the broken medic he found on the battlefield. She was a leader. The battle raged through the night. The survivors' voices rang out with determination, a chorus against the Dominion's silence. Just when it seemed they might be overwhelmed, the sky lit up with the arrival of human ships. Bright beams of light cut through the darkness, targeting the enemy. The Dominion forces faltered. Reinforcements landed swiftly and the tide turned. Virelia watched as the enemy retreated. She was exhausted, wounded, but alive. Reynard approached her, offering a hand. "You made it," he said. "We made it," she corrected. The survivors cheered as rescue ships landed. The battle was won. In the quiet moments after, Virelia stood beside Reynard, looking at the stars. "I thought death came for me that day," she said softly. "But humanity came instead." Reynard smiled. "And it's only the beginning." The battle was over, but the war was not. The small base in the ruined sector now buzzed with activity. Human reinforcements had arrived, bringing supplies, medical teams, and new weapons. Virelia watched as ships landed, soldiers helped the wounded, and hope grew like a fragile flower in the ash. She sat beside Reynard under a sky still thick with smoke and stars. Her body ached, wounds slow to heal, but her heart felt lighter than it had in months. "We did more than survive," she said quietly. "We fought back." Reynard smiled. "That's what humans do, fight back, even when it seems impossible." Virelia thought about her people, the Thalkai, proud, strong, but broken by the Dominion's power. Yet here, among new friends and allies, she felt something new: unity. The commanders of the new forces gathered everyone in the main hall of the base. The room was filled with beings from many species. Eyes watched Virelia as she stood beside Reynard. A human commander stepped forward. "We came because we received a call for help. Because one human refused to leave a fallen world behind," she said, nodding to Reynard. The room fell silent. Virelia cleared her throat and stepped forward. "I thought death was waiting for me," she said, her voice steady. "But humanity came instead. Not just as a species, but as a choice to help, to fight, and to believe." The crowd erupted in applause. Later, Reynard and Virelia walked outside. The air was fresh, the smoke beginning to clear. "Will your people accept us?" Reynard asked. She looked at him. "They must. We have no other choice." Together they planned the next steps, rebuilding, defending, and uniting. The Dominion still held much of the sector, but the fire of resistance had been lit. In the weeks that followed, Virelia traveled among her people, sharing the story of the human who saved her life and inspired a rebellion. She taught others what Reynard had taught her: hope, courage, and the strength to rise. One evening, as the twin moons rose, Virelia stood on a cliff overlooking the city ruins. The wind whispered through her torn wings. She closed her eyes and thought of the day she almost died alone, with only flies landing on her wounds. Now, she was surrounded by friends, fighters, and the promise of a new future. She smiled. Because humanity wasn't just a species, it was a choice she and the universe would never forget.